Welcome to the Obsessed With podcast. We are your hosts, Kim and Aaron. We've been together since 2007, and we are the co-founders of Travcest.
And we've also been full-time travelers since 2012.
That's right, crazy.
Which is insane. Join us here as we pull back the curtain with fun, juicy, and honest conversations. We're gonna dive into all the things that you might be navigating too, like figuring out how to add more travel and adventure into your life, which PS, this is our specialty, navigating big transitions, relationships and marriage, deciding whether or not kids fit into the picture in your 40s, and most importantly, how to create a life of freedom on your own terms.
Consider this podcast your official permission slip to unapologetically do life your way and be able to change your mind a million times along the way and know that you are not alone.
Our goal with this podcast is to create a fun, zero judgment, happy hour style space where we can all just hang out, have real conversations, and navigate all the life things together.
So grab a drink, settle in, and let the obsession begin.
Woo!
We are back with another Obsessed With podcast. We're your hosts, Kim and Aaron. This episode I'm extremely excited about jumping into. We're going to be talking about group travel versus solo travel, and boy, oh boy, do we have a lot of experience to say with this, and also just kind of, I have some feelings to share.
Well, and I think also we're just going to go through some pros and cons and things to think about, because I think, we run group travel trips, and we'll kind of talk about our group travel was never our thing.
No.
But I think we have a lot of people who come on our trips that haven't been on a group trip before, and they have questions and I don't know if group travel is for me. And I think this episode is basically geared just to go over kind of the ins and outs of it and maybe give some insight into, hopefully at the end of the episode, you'll be like, I never want to go on a group trip ever.
Yeah.
Or maybe you'd be like, wow, maybe that would be a really cool experience to try out. And just kind of give some perspective, and also be mixing in some fun stories and stuff along the way too.
Flight crew, please prepare for departure.
So, kind of crazy to think about. We're in Parker, Colorado right now. Literally felt like we were going to be here for the rest of our lives, which I hope we are, but
Not Parker, but Colorado.
not Parker. Yeah. Anyway,
No shade to Parker, but
what I was getting at was, since this is Obsessed with Travel Tuesday, speaking of obsessed with travel and the fact that we're talking about group travel, we leave in 4 weeks?
no, we were at the gym this morning,
Yeah.
and we were pausing, in between sets, and I was like,
Okay.
we were lifting heavy today, and I said, dude, this time next month,
Yeah.
we're gonna be in Florida, which is where we're going first to bring our dog, because she stays with my sister, because we're gonna be gone for 11 weeks.
Oh my God.
Okay. Also, I had this thought because, so we're going to be running Travcest New Zealand and Travcest Bali, and we send out welcome packages, fun welcome packages to everyone who comes on our trip. So yesterday, I always do handwritten cards. It's one of our things that we just love to do. I say we, but I literally am the one who writes them.
I've written them too.
I've never seen you write one
Are
card.
you kidding me? At the cafe, when I was like, dude, I don't know how you do this. My hand hurts so bad.
Okay, maybe you wrote one card.
One card.
My hand was numb because who writes anymore?
Exactly.
I never use my hand. I do journal, but it's faster,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm writing out the cards yesterday, and I thought, this is so crazy. We launched New Zealand a year ago, almost.
May.
And we're in April. Oh gosh, it's so far off. So excited, but gosh, it's might as well be, years from now. And now the fact that we're getting ready to head that way, mind blown.
It's insane. It's really insane. and it's really exciting because New Zealand's a new trip.
I know.
Which I could not be more excited about. One, because we took 6 weeks to drive around in a camper van around New Zealand and really fell in love with it. And then the thought of this trip came from a traveler who has been on all of our trips, where we were like, yo, guys, throw out some destinations. Like, what's up? Just thinking for fun. And old Keaton, he's, what about New Zealand? And I was like, dude,
Done.
that's a good idea. And I really think that we could put it together based off of our experience there. And this trip is next level, freaking amazing. I don't care if a group comes or not. I'm excited to go.
I'm
Which there's a lot of people coming.
yeah. It's
It's a big group.
It's exciting. So we're going to be gone for 11 weeks total, which is a long time. And we're going to Indonesia first. Like we're going to Bali, which is like our home base basically. And then we're going to be traveling around Indonesia for like 12 days. And we're going to be planning a future Travsess trip, like an Indonesia adventure. Because we're about to run our 5th Bali trip. Like Bali is our signature trip. It's freaking epic. That's not going anywhere. But we also want to do like an Indonesia trip that's more like adventure, diving, just kind of another level. And so people who've been to Bali could do Indonesia. And vice versa. So anyways, we're doing that first, and then we're flying to New Zealand to host New Zealand, and then back to Bali to host Travsess Bali. Oh, we got a gauntlet ahead, but I'm so freaking excited. I just can't believe we're leaving in 4 weeks.
It's a super good segue into this week's episode. Group travel versus solo travel. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that please share this episode with a friend. So, our goal for 2025 is to blow up the Obsessed With podcast. And we have so many fun episodes coming up and interviews, and just want to add a lot of value to this podcast. And so you sharing this with a friend who might be considering group travel, or any of the episodes that you think could add value to someone else's day, it would mean so much to us if you shared it, and also left us a review, because reviews and sharing are really what will help us spread the message and grow the community of the podcast. And so we really appreciate it. I know it takes you less than 5 minutes, but it really means so much to us. So
100%.
Thank you.
No, that's awesome.
All right.
And
Let's get
I was going to say it's like really good. Maybe that friend that's like, I would never do group travel, and you like want them to come on a Travsess trip. Maybe this will change their mind, or maybe they're going to be like, yo, no.
Not for me.
Did you not listen to that podcast? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going.
Well, here's the thing. We never thought we would do group travel.
Ugh.
So we've been traveling, in healthcare for 13 years, but that's also what really allowed us to travel a lot internationally and like all the trips we've been able to do. And we love traveling alone. Like we love doing our own thing. I've always been a planner. I've always been a researcher. Like that is something I get so much joy out of like, I'm like, my dream job is being able to sit at a cafe for 20 hours and like get coffee and latte and like get all like pumped up with espresso and just like ticking away on my computer, like reading all the blogs and like watching YouTube.
That point
No,
right
it's my
there,
dream.
that point right there is why I wish this was videotaped, because the face that came out of that,
It's just pure.
it was like a mix of like zombie apocalypse / like motivated like worker in a cafe.
That was me being souped up on espresso.
Okay.
The face.
Okay.
The zombie face was like, "Rah,"
Okay.
But like, that's my greatest passion. And so I've always applied that when we've been traveling solo, but never for a group trip. The times that you and I have traveled, so when we did like the snorkeling tour, where were we? In the Philippines. And we like didn't want to talk to anybody. Remember?
And that group was lame too, dude.
I don't think they spoke English either.
Okay.
Okay.
There's been other times, like, thank God, like, we had a couple where at least there was like 1 or 2 cool people, but then the rest of the people were just like so like mean and lame, and they looked miserable. And so you're just like, you are ruining this experience for me.
It can really, well, we're going to get into the pros and cons, but like the group dynamic will make or break the experience. But like, even just when we've done these tours, we're like, oh my God. But I actually was going to bring up the Tanzania story.
No. I wanted to touch on that.
Are we thinking about the same thing?
Maybe not, but I don't think so.
So
This is my personal opinion.
The first time I realized that group experience with the right people is a complete game changer. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Yeah.
What?
Tanzania.
No. That's what I thought I was going to say.
Greece.
No.
I have no idea.
Thailand.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't. It literally just popped in my head because we were going to talk about Tanzania, which we can.
Good. I just wanted to back it up a little bit.
Okay.
Because it was more personal. It has nothing to do with like getting into this. But I was just going to say, like, coming from, I've always felt like I have my built-in travel buddy, my travel group. And I'm also very,
Me?
yeah. Oh, no, babe. Like, who else? But like, we've always said that too. Like, we travel very well together. We live very well together. Like, you're my person, and I also just like enjoy. I have fun with you. I mean, remember the time we were at Busch Gardens? It's so simple, but like we were at Busch Gardens, and you were like, "I'm not riding any of those scary rides unless I've had some drinks."
Yeah.
So we went up to that like rooftop thing, and that dad on the dad on the train was like holding his stroller and had 4 kids. And he just looked at us, and you saw all the wind come out of his shoulders, and he just like, oh. And we were up there like cheersing the train as it was going by. We were just like having so much fun, and like we weren't in it like we got to go. It was like, you know what? Let's just go sit up here and like chill, and then we'll go hit the rides. And like we've always had that kind of spontaneous, fun kind of thing. And I'm also, as an individual, very moody. When it comes down to like, I can switch in a heartbeat and be like, I'm done. Like, I'm absolutely done. I want to go back to the hotel room, lay down for like 30 minutes, maybe have a naked nap, and then we can get up and go to a cool dinner. But like, the plan kind of changes. If it's too touristy, if it's too like not what we expected, you and I will just bounce, right?
Yeah.
And I've always loved that dynamic. And I've always felt energy from other people that throws me off. Like the snorkel thing, like they looked miserable. They didn't want to get in the water. And I'm like, you came on a snorkel tour. Like, and it was just like, then the guides were more catering to them. And like, we weren't able to ask any questions. And so I've always said, let's just book private, because I would rather have the guides all to ourselves and be able to go and experience something cool than have somebody else kind of altering our experience.
Yeah.
So I've always felt like that.
Yeah. I mean, I have too. So going back to the Thailand. So I've always felt like that too. It's just like, oh, I don't know. And then also sometimes, you know, you just don't feel like talking or being chatty. And when you're in those kinds of situations, you feel like you have to be, and you're like, so we were in Chiang Mai, and we had signed up. We were doing this basically hike through the jungle.
2-day hike.
2-day hike overnight. So we were going up to like the Myanmar Thailand border, and we were hiking through the jungle, and then we were staying overnight in like this village, and just seems like a really cool, unique experience, something like we would love. So we signed up, and then Aaron got really, really sick.
I pooped the bed. Okay, go ahead and say it.
That was so gross.
I was very, very sick.
Very sick. So we had to reschedule it. And I remember being like bummed. I'm like, dang, whatever. So we rescheduled it for another day. We get picked up. And so in Chiang Mai, one of the main like transportation is there are these like red, basically pickup trucks that have
Shells.
a covering over it. But it's essentially just like a wooden bench that you are sitting on and
With a
holding
handle.
on to. And you're sitting across from people, right? And so we get picked up, and we're literally sitting across from other people, where again, if you don't really feel like talking, now you're in each other's faces. You can't just like in a van, like, okay, I'm just gonna like look out the window and drink my coffee, whatever. Like you're in it. And then we had like a 2-hour drive up into the mountains in these pickup trucks.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the wind's just a blowing.
It's crazy.
You're hanging on for dear life.
Dude, I'm like, this isn't safe.
Well, and you also know that I'm about to spend 2 days with these people.
Yeah.
Right? So
Right. So long story short, it was another couple and then a solo traveler, a guy. And we all just hit it off. Like, they were so freaking cool. We had the best conversations. And again, we stayed in a village overnight, and we stayed in, it was it's not even a house, but it was just like wood, like piles of wood. And the floor like was just wood panels. And like we had a sleeping bag and a mat, and we just slept on the floor. Like, we were very close. And like, you know, it was like I don't know, it was a very intimate experience. And we all just had so much fun, such a connection. And I remember after that thinking, when we got dropped off, like, that was a cool freaking experience in general. Like, Mr. Jai freaking hacking his way with a machete through the freaking jungle.
cooking our food in bamboo sticks that we like hack down. Yeah.
Like, this was not a normal touristy thing.
No.
We were literally in the middle of the freaking jungle, like survival mode.
No, we were not.
No, but like, they were taking care of us. But it was just such a freaking cool, like, one of my favorite travel experiences we've ever had. And we would have had a great time regardless. But that group, because we did it with them, I was like, that is what made that an experience I will never forget. Like, the fun that we had, the conversations that we had, the ghost photo shoot that we had at the top of the hill. Like, those moments were because of the people we were with
Totally.
on that trip. Like, if it was just you and me, yeah, we would have had a good time. It would not have been the same. That was the first seed that was planted. That I was like, it was cool, but it was the people we were with that took it to another level, for sure.
100%.
And then the second one was Tanzania.
Tanzania was the most immersive
Yeah.
experience as a group. We were all living in the same condo together. What was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us? 5 of us. And we were building an IR department in East Africa.
We were all volunteering.
And like, but we got to experience Tanzania and Zanzibar and all this stuff. And like, we grew so close together, and it was like, you're doing something hard. You're working your tail off, but then you're enjoying it with these people, and you just get close really quick. And like, there was tears when we were all leaving. Like,
Oh, yeah.
we went to Zanzibar, and one of the doc that was with us, he had a flight that day, and he's like, I don't care. I'll make it work. I'm coming to Zanzibar, and then I'll leave in the afternoon, and I'll take a flight, and I'll get back. Like, it was just, we all just kind of wanted to hang out as much time as we could. And
I cried buckets of tears when Daddy Jay left. Like, he was like the dad I always wanted. Like,
he was awesome.
no,
dude.
he was that group. And I remember when we first met them, because you and I got in early. Oh my God, do you remember that? And we were the first ones. I think we got in a day early. And we had to sleep in it was volunteering, but our accommodations were included. So we all had a condo that we shared together, but it was like supported by this organization. And we got there and the air conditioning didn't work. And we were so tired. We flew to freaking Tanzania, we flew to Bali. So that was the longest flight, but a crazy long flight. We're exhausted.
16 hours in the air.
Air conditioning didn't work. We were remember when they gave us like this mat, or we put a mattress in the living room because the air conditioning worked there. And we just laid out on this mattress, like in the middle that was insane. So the next day, the rest of the crew was coming in. And I remember when we first walked up to meet them, they were eating. And you and I had walked around.
Yeah.
And we were coming to meet them. And I remember feeling so nervous. I'm like, nervous. Like, I don't know. You know, you're like, when you meet new people, there's always nerves there. And we're living together and we're working together. Like, it's not like there's separation. We were immersed, right? Like, there was no separating ourselves. And I just remember being like, instantly feeling like, okay, like,
This is the crew.
This is the crew. And then remember the next morning we got picked up, and they were supposed to pick us up in a van, and they picked us up in like a Mini Cooper.
And we all had to Mini Cooper.
Jason had to get in the trunk.
Yeah, we had to like almost sit on each other's laps.
That was
And they were like, you realize that we're all strangers? Like, we don't really know each other. We're not just like, hey, hop on, like, Boquito Uno. Like,
It was so, oh my God. It was such an insane experience. I mean, we worked 12-hour days. Like
12 to 14, easy.
It was a grueling experience, but then also just the local people that we met, because we worked with like the residents and the doctors, and like they would take us out at night. So we all just became this instant family, which is almost funny because like we say that with Trav Says trips, like you become this instant family. But the underlying thing is like when you do these immersive hard things together, which is a lot of Trav Says trips, you do bond. Like there's nothing like that kind of bond. And it was just the most fun, incredible, hard experience. And when we left, I cried and I cried and I cried. And I was just like, wow, like again, there was something about, if you and I would have went, it would have been fine. But like this group, these people are what made that experience the most magical, life-changing experience. And the memories I have are because of them.
Well, 100%. And I'll also say that, like, I don't know, a lot's coming to me now that you're like re-sharing that story. But literally after that, Kim and I flew back to Florida and we had a contract in California. We purposely made a stop in Kansas City and had dinner or lunch with that doctor, his daughter, and his wife, and met them and just had an amazing time. And it was like somebody that we wanted to stop in and see, right? And I do see where this happened, because this is where the whole Trav Says magic started, because you start collecting those patterns of like the 2-day hike in Thailand, the Tanzania, like other things that we have done that is not just sitting in a boat all day, jumping off the boat and going snorkeling. Yeah, you meet cool people, but like it's not as immersive and it doesn't have the challenge involved, because the challenge is what draws people closer, right? And like that's where that's just the entire part of like how Trav Says was like shaped, and that's why we do get so close.
And I think that it planted seeds, because people have been asking us to plan trips for years, and we were always like, no, like we're not into group travel, blah blah blah. And then the first ever group trip that we ended up planning was Peru, and it was a hike,
Inca Trail.
And that, well, let me circle back to that in a second. But I think, I know majority of Trav Says trips are hikes and stuff, because those are the kinds of trips I want to do with a group. Like those are the things that bring you close together. Like, again, thinking about Peru or Everest or Patagonia or whatever, it's like those are the trips that you're like, oh my God, like you just get so close because you're so immersed together doing something hard. And there's no better bonding than that.
So explain Bali then.
So, right. Because
that that's like...
Bali's not, right. Bali is not a hiking trip, but also, okay, I think because like in general, I would say, again, most of Trav Says trips are hiking. Bali is different, and then Greece. Greece was like and Oaxaca, but Oaxaca has an element in there that's hiking. But Bali is just magic because I think our love of Bali pours out so much. And G'day, he brings so much to the group. And again, because we may not be like scaling a mountain or doing something hard, but we always set the tone with like the questions, the deck of cards that we have, where it's like getting to know people, connecting faster, right? Because I think that if you're not doing something hard together, then you have to like manufacture that, right? So I think for us, or manufacture kind of getting connected quicker. And I think for us, like asking these kinds of questions that allow each other to like get to know each other, be a little fun, like that I think speeds it up too.
Because you always know that when you break the ice with anything, I mean, how much do you hate going into HR orientation and they always have those games you got to play? But then to be honest with you,
God, I know.
Because of those games, it feels crappy at first. And then you get into it and it breaks the ice.
Yeah.
And then after, you actually see those people in the hospital and you're just like, hey, what's up? Like,
It's true.
oh my God, we started together. Like there's this like bond,
Yeah.
right? And it's like a lot of people just don't want to break the ice, don't want to be vulnerable, don't want to like step out there. And I do think that we literally crush that on our trips.
Oh,
of, like,
100%.
you're gonna, like the ice is broken.
So going back to Peru.
Yeah.
So that was the first ever group trip that we planned, and that was in 2022. And so we went to Tanzania in 2019. We actually planned the first ever TravSays trip for Peru 2020. So we all know what happened. So we had or it was 2021. So it was like a year later, we were like, let's do our first group trip. We had to cancel it because of COVID. So 2022 is actually the first year that we planned Peru. And it was one of those things that, again, we weren't sure. Like we had a couple good group experiences. We weren't sure what to expect, but we're like, let's just, kind of our motto again in life is you never know until you go. Let's just give it a try. So what? Maybe we do it and we hate it. We never do it again. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Nothing to lose here. Like, let's just give it a try and see how we feel. And that first Peru trip, it was just magic. Like if you were on that trip, you get it. There's no words to describe it. I couldn't imagine a better cohesive group of humans to be our first group trip, and just all the magic that happened. And we walked away from that trip just like, wow, that was that. I want more of that. Because again, you and I could have just went and hiked the Inca Trail and it would have been incredible. But it was like that group of people coming together and doing this. Those are the memories. It's not even the trail. It's like the people that I'm like, God, that trip was amazing. Yeah. And it's really set the tone for TravSays. And that's really where it all began.
Totally. And I do want to say too, because it wouldn't be the Obsessed With podcast with you and I if it wasn't. But do you remember sitting in that pizza restaurant and arguing to where like people were leaving the room and we were just like going at it because we're like, I'll never do this again. So again, it was the most magical thing.
Let's put context behind that.
Yeah, I am.
Oh,
it was the most magical thing, but it doesn't mean that it was like how you said, you never know until you go. And the first 3 days of being in charge of a group was a lot. And it put a lot of strain on Kim and I. And again, being solo travelers who never want to travel with people, all of these things were exposed very quickly. And then it became about having a choice, right? And you're just like, we said at that dinner, we're never doing it again, but let's like get through this group and blah, blah, blah. But as the trip builded and as all these things, and we started to learn from those things, that it was just about managing different personalities. And like, I wanted to just like, I was tired and I didn't want to talk anymore. And like, I felt like I had to. And like, you learn all of those things as you go and as you do it more. And now it's my favorite part. But it's like at the beginning, that was a culture shock to do. And I was like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah. And so that conversation happened before we started the Inca Trail.
Yeah.
And we were both like frustrated. We were frustrated with each other. We were tired and we were like, okay, yeah, this isn't it. Like, this ain't it. So we're like, what do we need to do now to kind of like power through? What can we like, because again, running group trips it's so much personal growth. Especially when you're doing it with your partner too. Like there was just so much growth, so much to learn. Holy crap. Even looking back at us then to where we are now, like, wow, like we have grown so, you have to be like a good leader. There are things on that trip that I freaking cringe thinking about that
I would never do again.
But like you learn, you have start messy, you have to get started, right? And we've learned throughout the process. But I remember we were just like, absolutely not. Like I think I was crying.
You were.
Thank God nobody from the group walked. Could you imagine if they're like, hey guys, like we just came to like grab pizza. Like I'm crying, we're fighting.
But that was our secret place. We never told anybody about that place.
That was our spot, yeah.
Right. Now we've told everybody about it because it's
so
awesome.
Good. But we got ourselves together. We were like, okay, let's walk away with some things that we can like improve on because regardless, we're getting through this trip.
Yeah.
And then from that moment on, I feel like something clicked. Like I almost feel like we had to unleash and just kind of let everything out.
Yeah.
And like once it all came out and then we were like, okay, let's regroup. And then once we hit the trail and the rest of the trip, I was like, this is it. And also, I think we realized then that we really love the hiking part of the trip because we also have 2 guides that are coordinating and helping and leading and doing all the things. So you and I just got to be a part of the experience with everybody and enjoy the actual hiking versus trying to coordinate every single thing. So that I feel like we're like, we love the hiking part of the trip. So
Totally.
Okay.
Hey, real quick, we hope you're loving today's episode and we wanted to take a moment to keep you in the loop. If you work in healthcare or you're a healthcare traveler or you know someone who works in healthcare and is interested in fun adventure travel, you've got to know about our Travsess adventure trips. And listen, we get it. Working in healthcare can feel really demanding, overwhelming, and stressful. We spend so much time taking care of others that we forget to take care of ourselves.
So let us take care of you on a Travsess trip. Once you sign up for a trip, we literally take care of everything. The planning, the logistics, and all the little details. So all you have to do is show up, have fun, and make unforgettable memories with a group of like-minded, adventurous travel friends. This is your time to step away from the chaos, recharge, have some fun, and come back feeling like the best version of you. Everyone who comes on a Travsess trip says you come as strangers, leave as family. Literally. Travsess trips have sparked dozens of new friendships, adventure squads, and travel soulmates that last way beyond the trip.
And honestly, it's not about the places we go. It's about the amazing people you meet along the way. We personally plan every itinerary based on our own travel adventures, so we have been there, done that, and know all the best things to do and see that you would not find on your own. Plus, we've got some awesome local friends on the ground to help us make each trip extra fun, special, and totally unique. Our trips are for active adventurers who like to get out of their comfort zones and push their limits. And the best part? We keep our groups small and intimate so you can form real connections like really, really fast.
So if you're ready to ditch the planning stress, find your adventure crew, and travel like never before, head over to imtravsess.com and grab your spot on one of our next adventures.
That's imtravsessed.com.
Or you can send us a DM over on Instagram at Kim and Aaron G.
That is KIMANDERRANG.
Just DM us the word adventure and we can chat more about it. You can also find our Instagram, our website, everything is linked in the show notes below. Also, at the time of this recording, we have 3 spots left to join us in Oaxaca, Mexico in 2025, which honestly is one of our favorite trips. Yeah. So you can head over to our website, check that out, and we also have so many more fun adventures coming your way in 2026.
We cannot wait to see you on one of our life-changing trips. Now let's dive back into the episode.
Now, I will say, so we're going to get into the pros and cons. And I think, what?
No, I just wanted to back it up because I do think like the whole thing with like group travel, there is so many group travel experiences out there. And we have been very selective on the type of groups that we want to run and like the overall vibe of the trip. But I do think that like, if you're on the fence with group travel, doing your research of figuring out what is the continual flow of these trips. Is it all party, drunk, kind of like
young,
scattered? Like, yeah, you're in a group and you do have your choice of people. Is it scattered? Are you on your own? Like, what is it, right? Because every group trip has its own little nuances that it does, right? And I think like a lot of people are like, group trip is group trip. And if you take anything away from this episode, I don't believe that any group trip is the same.
No, I think finding the right style and the right group, like, are you on a big bus with like 50 other people? Is it all 20-year-olds? Is it a party trip? Because you might be 20 and want to go on a party trip that you're not going to want to go on Trav Says Everest.
Right.
Like, go on your party trip with like your young is it a lot of single people?
Is it 65 and older
Right.
going to museums and like
Right.
the top 10 Googles?
Right. It's like you got to be selective and find your right group, right? Because I think too, like, we take the dynamics of our group very seriously. And so like our trips are for like active adventurers, like people who want to get out of their comfort zone. They want to, you know, have fun, deep conversations. They want to connect. They want to get off the beaten path. They're not wanting to just like party and stay in luxury resorts. So it's like you got to find the right vibes.
There's also people that like a mix of all of that and good food and being kind of getting out of that comfort zone when it comes down to not just like what we might do activity wise, but also like, let's try some new foods. Let's see what it's like to dive into the local culture. And a lot of people don't like that. There's a lot of people that literally travel, go to 5-star resorts, never leave the resort and call that being in wherever. And it's like, we don't agree with that.
Right. It's not
There's
the
nothing
kind,
wrong
it's not
with
that
it,
we don't
but-
agree with it. It's just not the kind of trips we run.
No.
Right. So it's like you want to find your people, and that travel is kind of just like even a partner or a friend. You want to travel with the people who travel similarly to you, right? Because that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it cohesive. If you're traveling with somebody who travels completely different than you, that's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, just because you have good friends in life doesn't mean you travel well together.
100%. Which is why I think a lot of people, because we have a lot of solo travelers that come on our trips and they meet their people on our trips. And I think, because like, again, you can have friends at home, but that does not mean that they are adventure travelers. So it's like you come on a Trav Says trip, you meet other people who value adventure travel, and then you get to hook up with them and become friends with them and continue traveling with them.
Totally.
Right? So I think now where we are, so we've been doing Trav Says Adventures for 2.5 years. And I still I love our group trips, especially the hiking trips. Those are my favorite trips. The really active trips. That's like my sweet spot. So I love our group trips, but I like a mix. I love the fact that you and I are going to Indonesia for almost 2 weeks, just the two of us, to get off the beaten path, to travel together. We're not in charge of anybody. It's just you and me, like doing our own thing and experiencing somewhere new together.
Taking naps when we want.
Yes. Just like doing our own thing. I am so excited to have that experience with you. And then it's like, I'm really excited to fly to New Zealand and experience that with the group. So I like a mix of both, you know?
Totally. No,
Yeah.
and I agree. And I think as we were taking these 2.5 years to build up Trav Says Adventures, we realized that we are missing just going on vacation together.
Yeah.
And vacation, I say the word vacation, but like going on a trip, an adventure together.
Yes.
Because obviously we always have our eyes out for like future trips and things that we want to do, but like just being with you, not being in charge of other people, you were like on one of our Bali trips, you're like, no, we're not running these back to back trips, but we needed to do it in the moment. But it's funny because when you're really tapped into what you truly want and what you crave and what you know lights you up, then you're like, all right, we got to figure out how to mix this in, right? Like, because we can't just be go all the time, just group. We need our own time, and it can't be on the back end of a group trip either, because you and I are so exhausted. It's not the way that we like to travel.
No, and I think too, obviously for us, it's a little different because we're in charge. Like, we're leading the trip. It's work for us. Like, it's fucking fun. Like, I'm so excited.
Best job in the world.
To experience New Zealand and Bali with these 2 brand new groups. Like, I'm so excited, but like, it's still work for us. And you and I, so there's always things we're thinking about, and we have to organize and we have to coordinate and make sure everything's going smoothly, because like, we just want the people who come on our trips to just enjoy it, not have to think and this and that. So like, you and I are the ones thinking and putting it together and making sure everything's running smoothly. So it is a little bit different. Also, our dynamic's different because we're also leading a group. So like we want to talk to everybody and bring everybody in, and we're like, so it's not just like you and I are off together in a corner, giggling and like, no, like we're immersed in the group. So it's very different when you and I are on a group trip running it than just you and I off alone
I
together.
feel like I barely see you on group trips.
Yeah, it's totally different dynamic for us. So I like a mix of both.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the pros.
Okay.
Okay. So this one's obvious, but it's honest. So this is the pros of group travel, and then we'll do the cons.
Yeah.
So, and then again, this is just our perspective. But
Yeah.
when you go on a group trip, you have built-in friends. Like you have a built-in friend group.
Yeah.
And again, it's intimidating going into a group that you don't know anybody, right? I get that. Like, because I feel that way and I'm the one running the trip. But like when we have a whole group of people like we don't know, it's like, ooh, I'm nervous, right? So it's like I know that people who are getting off the plane, we have a lot of solo travelers. They're showing up alone. They don't know anybody. There is something like scary about that.
I just thought of this, and it's kind of interesting on that topic. Like, it's funny because we get a lot of questions like, I'm not a healthcare traveler. Can I come on your trips? And yes, they're open to non-healthcare travelers. The majority of the people that do come on our trips are healthcare travelers, but I do think that that's really interesting because what do we do as healthcare travelers every 3 months? We walk into a new group of people that know each other, that are constantly around each other, and we have to like figure out our way in, right? Mm-hmm. And like conversate with those people. So that muscle is generated. You're walking into an environment that you do not feel comfortable in, that you don't really know anybody, but everybody else knows each other, right? So it's like a muscle we flex a lot, which is why I think our healthcare travelers that come on our trips integrate so well because it's almost like walking into a new department as a traveler.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think like that initial meeting can be intimidating, right? You show up on your first day, like you're nervous. But as you know, you start to find your way pretty quickly. And I feel like our trips, you show up and you might not know anybody, but we also have roommates. And so I'm really good, I think, at rooming people together.
Magical. I don't know how you do it. I really don't.
I just have that like intuition. I don't know. I've created like
Remember
the most
Patty, the
incredible best friends have come from like, because they were roommates on a Trav Says trip.
Remember we used to watch Patty the Matchmaker?
Yeah, the millionaire matchmaker.
Yeah.
That's
Dude,
like me.
It's like you, but like travel matchmaker, but not like sexual.
Yeah, like friends. I'm really good at that. And so you kind of already, which I know for me, if I was showing up solo on a trip, I love knowing I have a roommate because it's like, you have like your one person that you kind of can like get close with faster and then you can mingle in the group. But I also feel like you and I are really good at creating this connective piece that we all come in together. There's some sort of an activity, whether it's like a dinner or whatever. And like, we're going to get to know each other and we're going to connect quickly.
I would like it if you didn't give away my proprietary secrets.
What?
No, just being funny. But I guess it wasn't funny.
No.
Okay. But I think too, no, we're very cognizant of like what it takes to bring people together quickly and kind of get all that out. But I do think that like the groups that we start before the trip, so we're all in our own places here, that we kind of get the ball rolling in our WhatsApp groups and the roommate introductions and the Facebook group and it's like, it's an easy way to ease in.
100%. So group trip, you have built-in friends, and you also, it's like for people who want to travel, but like their friends back home don't travel the way they do, or they don't get the time off. Like we obviously run into that a lot in healthcare traveling. And so you can just show up and have like-minded people with you. Like you're not alone, right? Because not everybody wants to solo travel, right? Like I don't want to solo travel. Like I want to do things with people, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, like alone travel, right?
Yeah.
Which, whatever. So I think a group trip, it allows you you show up and you're going to have connections with people inside of the group.
Well, we hear it all the time too. And it was an interesting reflection. And they were saying it's really crazy that like 30s 30s to low 40s, having jobs that we can travel the world and have adventure travel, people that want to actually get out there and adventure, that have the money, that have the time. But basically the whole friend group is either in a job and they're just starting out, starting a family, like, and it's really hard to meet people that have a like-minded travel view as you. And that's where group travel can come in, because it can introduce you to communities that you never knew existed. And then you're just like, oh my God, there's 15 of us that think the same way. Like, this is interesting. Like, I never thought these people were out there. We all travel so well together. And that's what really kind of draws it in too. So that can be a part of group travel.
100%.
Benefit, yeah.
Okay. The next pro is that there's no stress, no planning, and you just show up. I mean, this is such a huge perk. This is what people say they love about our trips, is that they don't have to do anything. Like, some people now, because they've been on so many trips, they're like, I don't even look at the itinerary anymore. I just know you guys are going to plan a bomb ass trip and I'm just going to show up.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, what a compliment. But yeah, it's like, you know, again, I gave the example, like, I'm somebody who, my dream is to sit at a cafe all day and like read blogs and read, like, I love that. But I've realized, like, a lot of people don't enjoy that. Like, I look at that as like the best day in the world, where other people are like, that's my nightmare. I get overwhelmed. Like, it's not like that for you. You don't even like doing that.
Nope.
Right. Like, and so you help me like bring it all together and fine tune, but that those initial, like, you got to get into the nitty gritty with like the planning. You don't enjoy doing that. And so on a group trip, it's like, you just get to show up and know that everything is going to be taken care of, and you get to just have a good time.
100%.
I want someone to plan a trip for me. That sounds fun.
Well, we just had that. Remember when Adam planned Denver, and we just like sat back and like, we're like, where are we going? What time do we need to be ready?
That's such a great example. Okay, so our friends Adam and Aaron, we were planning, and our friends Joe and Sarah, we were planning this like Denver weekend together, and you and I had a zillion things going on, and so, because usually I'd be like, okay, what are we doing? Blah blah blah. They also had lived here before, so they were very familiar with the area, and so I'm like, hey guys, sorry, like, I'm going to try to help you plan, but like, we just don't have a ton of time right now. And they basically took care of everything.
They rented the car, they got the Airbnbs, they planned the dinners, the hikes, everything.
And it was the first time that I feel like I've ever just showed up.
Yeah.
And I kind of I knew we were going to eat, I knew we were going to hike, but I really didn't know what we were doing.
Totally.
And he just took care of, they did. But like Daddy Adam, you know, was like driving the ship.
Dadum.
And I have to say, and it was amazing, because we travel very similarly.
They've also run Travsess trips. They're the only hosts that run Travsess trips.
But like, we all like to do the same thing. So I knew I could just show up and like, we were going to do the things that you and I would like to do. And that actually was so amazing. So
it's nice to be pampered.
Huge perk. It is, or just to be able to relax.
I will say that is a caveat too, if you're looking into groups, because again, anytime Kim and I do a pro and con list, I feel like there's a pro, there's also a con within it, right? And I think too, like, a lot of people want to feel control in a way when it comes down to like, I'm going to another country and I don't know if they got my back. And especially if you don't know, if you've never been on like one of our trips. And again, I know I keep talking about our trips, but like, basically like looking into your group trip, if you're going to go on one, like, do they include airport transfer? Like, are you trying to figure that out? Like, Kim and I always want to take care of that, because that's something that I feel is a good way when you walk into a new country and there's somebody with a sign with your name on it. There's nothing more exciting. I don't know. I love that, right? Because you're like, dude, all I got to do is get off this plane. I usually feel a little tired, kind of like wonky, like walking into daytime, but I left at nighttime, and like, I don't even know where I am right now. I maybe had too much wine on the plane, but like, somebody's going to drive you to the hotel and you're going to be greeted by your group leaders and like get you in your hotel room. Like, that's something that we take very seriously. And we notice a lot of group travels, they're like, get yourself to the hotel on this day. And that can be overwhelming for people. So really looking into the details of what your group travel trip includes.
Honestly, the logistics of things, like, even right now I'm planning the Indonesia trip, and that is the most stressful part of a trip, is like
how are you, especially when it's like a lot of moving parts, which a lot of our trips are, is like the getting from place to place is like, it can be so overwhelming. I'm overwhelmed with this Indonesia trip. And the airport thing is a huge thing because you're just like, where were we? We were literally just somewhere. And I remember you and I were like fighting because you were waiting and the Uber kept getting dropped. And I'm like, we need to go over here. And you're like, we need to go here. And I was like storming away.
Japan?
Japan. And we were literally fighting because we were stressed out. We were hungry. We were over it. And we kept getting dropped. And we were like, where are we freaking supposed to go? Mm-hmm. And Japan, yeah. And if there
you left.
Oh yeah, I stormed away. I'm like, if there would have just been somebody with a sign, we would have been so happy.
So that's where our dynamic comes in because Kim plans this stuff, but then I'm always like on those little details of like, I know I like this when I travel. And so I want to make this a thing. So how do we do that? So I take on the little things as long as Kim's got like where we're going, hotel, like excursions, dinners. I like to plan dinners. And
You're
like
really good at that. Yeah.
Planning dinners and group experiences within like a wow factor. That's like my jam. But that's as far as I'm going.
Yeah.
Because if I get like 5 hotels to choose from, no. Like I won't be able to figure out which is best for the group. We'll be paying millions of dollars to stay in these hotels.
Oh yeah. If you were, no. Like, yeah.
We have somebody carrying us from like, yeah.
It would be like the most bougie, like.
But I like to get off the beaten path, which is funny. I don't know. My defer is just a book.
I like
really
a
nice
mix of both.
Totally.
You know? Okay. Next pro is, this is so huge. It's so true. That group trips will push you out of your comfort zone.
Ooh.
More.
Yeah.
And I think because they encourage you to try new things that you might not want to do because you're with a group, right? And so it's like, you're around different people. And again, maybe it's like peer pressure, but like when you're around other people that are like doing something like, okay, for instance, the example.
Cliff jumping.
Yes, in Bali. And we go to this place and we do a bunch of cliff jumping and it's really fun. And there's different levels that you can jump from. And all of us pretty much jump on like the first level.
5 meter, yeah.
There's people who, again, are absolutely terrified, but they're like, but it's not like you're forcing somebody to, they're like, I want to face this fear. I want to do it. I know it's not that scary. And then you have the other people in the group, like encouraging, like, come on, like you can do it. And like, people are like climbing back up and then they're like, let's go together. And like, if you were just alone,
you'd bypass it.
you'd be like, screw it. There's something about the energy of a group that definitely pushes you to do something you might not normally do.
Mm-hmm. Well, even on like our difficult hiking trips, there's times where like your body, you'd be like, dude, I'm done. Like, I just want to like sit down. But the group energy is there to support you. And like, you take it slow and like somebody walks slow with you. Right. But you keep moving forward and like, Dead Woman's Pass in Peru. People got to the top and we're up there cheering for you as you're coming in, and that energy level just spikes, right? Because you have like this team up there. Then we just like all give each other big hugs and it's like this moment of like accomplishment that if you were by yourself, yeah, you have inner gratitude. Oh my God, I did it. But like it doesn't have the same power.
No, it's being in a group, I feel like makes you braver. Like even on that second jump in Bali, like super high. And I really wanted to do it, but I was so scared. But other people were doing, you did it, nailed it. Like there's people just doing it. And me and girl Erin really wanted to do it, but we were like so scared. And I think again, if I wasn't in a group, I would have been like, okay, bye. Like Erin jumped, like let's get out of here, whatever. But seeing other people do it and then everybody's encouraging you. And then this guy, John, he comes up and he's like, come on guys, like watch, it's so easy. Like you just do it. And like kept encouraging and people are like cheering. And then finally we did it. And I'm like, I'm so glad I did that. Like I felt so accomplished and brave that I faced a fear and like all was well. Right. And then there's another bigger jump that like I didn't do, you did. And I was like, but I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not going to do this one. But there's just something about, again, the energy of a group that pushes you, makes you feel more brave, encourages you, and kind of gets you go through things.
Let me flip that a little bit. Because I do believe that a lot of people, that is a fear as well. for a group pushing them outside of what
Okay.
they think they can do.
That's true.
Right?
yeah.
Because we've had that a lot with our hiking trips of like, I don't want to set the group back. Right? And I think that's also a valid concern to have. But I will say, again, I can only speak for our trips of just like, that doesn't happen. Like people go at their own pace. Yes, we do have to not be hiking at night. So like you do kind of got to like pick it up a little bit. You can't just sit, and so that's why we're very selective on like, are you able to do these kind of things? But I will say that we've had that a lot. And I do think a lot of people are like, I don't want to be in a group and I don't want to be pushed to do something that I feel uncomfortable with, that I feel like I'm doing just because of peer pressure. And
That's-
like,
yeah.
so I do think that that's a fear that creeps up. And I think that's just your own choice, because we have people that are very adamant of like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
and we're like,
100%.
freaking
Yeah.
rock on, dude, that you're that sure that you don't need to do that. Perfect. Like, but they're supporting the other people that want to do it and cheering for them, which is fun too. So I
Yeah.
think it goes both ways.
Yeah, no, because I don't like to be forced. Like for me, my biggest fear is like being forced to dance. Like if I don't want to be, like in Bali, when like our group dinner, where they were like bringing people up and making them dance, and I'm like, I will literally kill like. And it's not even that I don't like to dance, but I don't want to be like forced to dance where people are watching me. There's something about it that like terrifies me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, don't force me into doing that. I don't want to do it,
Totally.
but I could probably like, it's
You'd
not
be
that
fine once
serious.
I know.
But there's also that feeling of the things that you kind of feel called, like I want to do it. And like the group helps you get there versus
100%.
like, I'm not doing it. So
Right.
just lay off.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
You know the difference.
That's why I
between
just
the
that's
two.
why I just wanted
Yeah,
to
yeah,
flip
yeah.
it, because I know that there's people out there that are like, that would drive me crazy.
And I agree, because if people feel how I feel about being forced to dance in other situations, I could see like that would piss me off. Like, do not make me get up and dance in front of people. Like the wedding we went to in Bali, where they were making all of you guys, like they took you up alone. They were like making them dance. I can't do it.
Well, maybe you should face it.
What do you think? I don't know. What is that
Yeah, what
fear
do you
about?
Yeah, what is it?
Even like conferences we've gone to where they like make you get up and dance and stuff. It's like, I don't want to be forced to do that. If I want to, I will. I don't want to be forced into it.
I mean, it's just so funny.
Nothing makes me angrier.
I know.
It's weird.
I know.
I swear to God, you better not make me do it.
No, I'm not. I would let you tackle that on your own. But I do think that that's maybe something you should look at.
Yeah.
Because it's like the visceral. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because you've literally bit my head off. Of like, don't, because of course a little bit of me is like, let's just like make her do it.
No,
right?
that making somebody do something when they don't want to isn't funny.
No, I know, and I've learned the hard way. 'Cause
People don't like that.
I know.
Kind of stuff.
I tend to do. Remember,
Yeah.
like G'day was running,
Yeah.
and you were like, get him, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
what if they were doing that to you?
True. Remember, Tyra left, and then I went out and sat with her because she didn't want to be called up to dance. I didn't want to be called up to dance, and we literally left and went and sat out there because of the fear of having to get called up to dance, because they were calling our group up one by one, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I was literally like, you
You
guys
were
are
so
freaking assholes. Like, nobody wants this, but like nobody else cared. They were like, sure, I'll come up.
Yeah.
Like,
Some people volunteered to go twice.
I was like irate.
I know.
That's such a weird. I don't know what that's about. But I love to dance.
Do you? No.
I don't know. Maybe I don't. But like, if we're out somewhere, we're having drinks and there's music and stuff. Like it's not that I like to dance. I don't want to be forced into it,
Okay.
because then I'll feel uncomfortable.
Because you feel like you don't have moves.
I guess, right?
You can also just have fun with it in those. I think that's the thing, is maybe you're putting too much pressure on
Yeah.
yourself to like perform, which nobody thinks you're going to come out and like a So You Think You Can Dance lyrical, like amazing.
Like a routine.
Yeah. Like you don't have to have one prepared. When you get called up like that, it's just about letting loose and having fun.
Yeah.
Because nobody is really judging you. And if they are, like, bye.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out having fun. I got called up on stage to do something. I feel it too. I feel really nervous.
Oh, stop.
No, I do. And that's what you always say is like, I just do it. But like, because I know like, I'm just going to have fun with this and see where this goes and do what I feel. And like, either it's like a total train wreck or whatever, but like.
You're a good dancer. You have rhythm and you love to be attention on you.
I don't actually. And that's the biggest misconception that you have of me is like, I feel those nerves and that panic, but then I know that once I do it, I feel good that I did it. Right. And so I know the flip side of that versus like, oh my God, like I feel the same way. Like, please don't call me. I don't want to feel like I need to perform or like I need to do something funny or whatever. But then again, I know that like as sometimes the group leader, if I can break that ice and get through myself, I know how I feel on the other end of it. And I never feel bad.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, no, you're proud of yourself.
Right.
Like I feel bad because I run out,
right.
you know, which if I would have just done it, I would have been like, okay, like you did it.
Right.
Right. So, oh God.
Anyway,
I'm so stressing
good
about
therapy
this.
session
So
with
if you
you.
come on a Travis's trip, just know.
Don't
we'll
force
never...
Kim to dance.
Yeah. Don't force me to dance or you'll get your ass handed to you.
Oh, but you'll steal a microphone from a band
I know.
and sing Fast Car at a formal dinner?
That doesn't bother me. It's the dancing.
Okay.
I was also freaking lots of tequilas in, okay?
Yeah.
I love to dance and I've been drinking.
Well, who doesn't?
Yeah, right. There's some, and maybe that's why, because there's something about dancing. It's like when you're drinking, you lower your inhibitions and you're kind of like, you don't really care. You're just like feeling it. And maybe that's why people love to dance more when they're drinking versus just sober.
Yeah.
Because you just loosen up.
We've gotten off track here.
Okay, let's circle back. So if you come on a Travis's trip, we will not force you to do anything you don't want to do, but the group also will encourage you if there's something you want to do but need a little bit of a push.
Yeah, not just Travis's trips, all group trips.
Yeah. Okay, next one, built-in photographer. Yeah, I mean, this goes without saying, like with a group trip, like we're all taking pictures of each other and like, you know, because when you and I travel alone, it's just a bunch of selfies. We're like selfie by a tree, selfie by a waterfall. Like it all looks the same. But like on a group trip, we're like, hey, can you take our picture? Hey, can you take our picture? So it's like you have like a group getting like great pictures and videos for you, which I love. And then last one for the pro, and then we'll get into the cons, are obviously the memories that you make. Like, again, all the trips that I can go back and think about now, like we've done some incredible stuff, but the best trips are always the ones that have the people associated with them of like even that Tanzania trip, one of my favorite memories that I cannot hear freaking Toto without almost becoming emotional when we went out to this bar with the locals took us to their favorite place. And that night we just got crazy. Like it was
live band.
One of those random nights that none of us were even expecting, but they broke out like this liquor that they have. And like, we just all got wasted. And we were like going back home. We were in like a taxi and did the car break down?
No,
or something?
it started raining, but what we noticed due to our possible intoxication was the band was packing up their car.
Oh, yeah.
And we were like, stop the taxi.
We got to tell them we love them.
So we got out and then it starts raining. And in the taxi, I kid you not, Toto's playing.
Yep.
And so the band gives us their instruments and we can't play them, but we're literally dancing in the rain
With the
in
band.
Africa. Yep. And they're like dancing and singing too. And it was like this moment of just like, wow. Like,
this is surreal. And it was all of us just like laughing and in the rain and being silly together and being wet and just like, yeah, with the band. And like, it was just like one of those memories that, again, is just like people induced.
Yeah.
You know?
It's when we were going to steal a cruise ship and create our own like radiology like boat.
Yeah.
All that came about.
Oh my gosh. But again, all of the group trips we've been on, it's always like, yeah, that place was cool. Yeah, that hike was cool. Yeah, that food was great. But the memories are always with the people. And a group trip, you will get that.
I would also say a pro is, even if you don't connect with the entire group, like there is a connection, right?
Yeah.
And you have that person that maybe on your off days you can go and explore, or you could go feel safe walking down the street to a restaurant or a bar or like somewhere you have that built-in buddy. Whereas like if you're traveling solo, you got to try to find that and like really put yourself out there, which is a skill all on its own, right? And like I have so much respect and appreciation for people that just know they want to travel solo, and I love that, right?
Yeah.
And that's great.
Also, when things...
You have a bathroom buddy too.
Yeah. And when things go bad, like it just becomes funny stories. Like when we were, our last Patagonia trip we ran, that was like a trip that because of the weather, everything just went wrong.
Plan B.
And yep, that was the name of our group. It became a joke. And, we were supposed to be like hiking a glacier, but instead we're all trapped in this like little shed thing. And we're just like playing games, and wine came out, and like we ended up having to take a boat. Like it's just like so many things went terribly wrong. But with the group, we all just made the best of it, and we played games and we talked and we laughed. And like those stories, like any good travel story always includes like a group of people.
Well,
except for like when I guess maybe it could, but for the most part, it's always with the people, and then you have this shared experience and story.
Yeah, and I think too, like at the end of every trip, Kim and I always do our Peach Pit in Buffalo, which is supposed to be Peak, but it became Peach just for, I don't know, that's our signature now. But a lot of the times the peak or peach of everybody's story is when something went wrong.
Oh, 100%.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's not the like perfect itinerary. It's when something went a little wrong, we diverted, and it became the best story and like of the trip and the best memory most people had, which is awesome.
Always. And that's also about your attitude and mindset too.
Totally.
Because if you're someone who something goes wrong and you're just pout, which I've been there too, it doesn't make the experience any better. No. But I don't pout in a group.
No.
Right?
Well, right, but especially being the leader.
Well, could you imagine? I was just like,
just life is over,
like throwing a fit, like in the corner, just like pouting and crying and like smashing stuff. People will be like, okay,
But
all
no,
right.
I think that is a pro group because you're like, screw it, like I got cool
We're all
people
here
around,
together.
like let's go,
Let's
like
just have fun. Yeah. Okay, let's get into the cons.
Okay.
So those were all the pros,
Okay.
which I think those are some really great
Yeah, I'm in.
reasons to go on a group
I'm
trip.
going on all group trips.
Well, I like a mix. So let's not get carried away. Okay. First con is on a group trip, obviously that it's planned and you're just showing up, right? Like you have flexibility. And you're with a group of other people. Like things have already been planned for you. And you are now with a group of people. And so when you and I travel alone, there's always a plan. Like, so our Indonesia trip, there's a plan, right? Because like, especially when you're trying to get to as many things as possible, you have to have plan and structure and ideas, but there's so much flexibility woven in there that you could be like, you know what, screw it. We don't want to do that. Let's go here instead, or let's sleep in, or let's like, because it's just us and you're navigating that. And like you said, you want to be like, this sucks. Let's go home and take a nap. Like you can do that. You can choose to do that. When you're on a group trip, if you're not like vibing with something, you can't just like leave.
No, and a lot of times, like for instance, how many times do we have like a reservation set and the group is going and like somebody doesn't feel hungry or they just kind of wanted to like, which we're like, dude, if you want to stay home, stay home.
Yeah.
But like, or you could be walking and you see another place and you kind of wanted to go try that. And if you were on a solo, you probably would have popped into that place. And like, but the group's going, the reservation's made, the menu's set, like it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? And so it does add a lot of like, I don't know if I would have done this solo. Right.
And so it's kind of like how one of the pros is that there's no planning. You just get to show up. And that's such a perk. But on the flip side, you don't really get to make a lot of your own decisions. Like you're kind of just, the group trip has an itinerary and you are rolling with that itinerary, right? Whether you want to wake up at the butt crack of dawn or you don't, like you're rolling with the group. Now, granted, we also mix in free days on our trip. So like you can absolutely enjoy the day however you want. But that's definitely something to think about, because that is the dynamic of a group trip, especially ours, are built like we're doing things together. Right? So,
Yeah.
and most people look at the itinerary and they want to do those things, which is why they sign up. But it is something
But
that
we also have people that have never even looked at the itinerary. And I'm like, did you not see what this trip was? And they're like, dude, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, so there are people out there like that. And I wonder how many people actually look into that when they do book random group trips. Because I don't talk to a lot of like outside group trip leaders or companies and things like that. And I believe that that's a big thing to look into. Like, what's the food situation like? What are we doing every day? How many days off do we have? What type of trip is this? Because that can be a big shock too for people that like, I didn't even know what I was getting into. So
yeah, if you're signing up for a group trip, pro tip, read the itinerary. Do you
Yeah.
want to go or not? Like,
see if it meshes with your, yeah.
like, hello. Okay. Next con, this is obvious. Personalities can clash. Like, you know, we do our best to create a group dynamic that's cohesive from the beginning, but you are dealing with so many different personalities. That's also something that we have, as leaders, have had to be better at, right? Of like, there's a lot. So if we have 10 people in a group, 12 people in a group, that's a lot of different personalities. And you're going to find people that you absolutely click with and you're like, oh my gosh, you're like my travel friend soulmate. I can't believe we got to meet. And then there's other people that you're like, oh my God, like you're so annoying. And that's just like the reality of big groups of people. No matter if you're at work,
Totally.
school, like no matter where you are in life, like when you are around a larger group of humans, there's people you like, there's other people you're like, I don't know. It just kind of goes with the territory.
But it's also extremely elevated in group travel because you are locked with this group. Especially we're taking vans up and down, 2-hour van rides. Like you're trapped in a van, you're eating together, you get your different hotels and things like that, but like not different hotels, but different hotel rooms. But other than that, every activity you're with this group.
Yeah.
They're not leaving for 14 days.
Yes. I also think too, if you're an introvert, which I am, which just means I'm an extrovert. It's called, what is it called? An ambivert, where it's like you're an extrovert, where it's like I love people. I'm very social. I like to be in the mix. Like I like that. Like if I'm with people, like I'm on. Like I want to be with them and I want to talk and I want to be like center of attention. Like I like to be in the mix. I'm never going to be someone like sitting like a wallflower.
Right.
But I get very drained socially. And so I'm an introvert in the way that I need to be alone to refill my tank. And so group trips, when you're around people a lot, could be very draining, right? Remember Allison? Because that was her first ever group trip, and she's like a huge introvert, right? So she was like, this is amazing, but like, I'm going to need to be alone for weeks after this trip, right? And so that's also something to think about too, is like constant energy it can be very draining. And so I always find, so as somebody who does get drained socially, I always find buckets of like, I wake up in the morning, I have like an hour alone where I have my coffee and this, that before I have to go out in the group. Or, we also like every day is not like bam, 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 bam all day. Like there's buckets of time that you go and just like, so I can always find these like little moments to refuel.
Yeah.
To go back out.
Because I'm not the type of person that likes to get up at 6 o'clock and hit the ground running every single morning. So we design our trips that way, that we have slower mornings, bigger afternoons, like early mornings to get places soon. And then the next day is like a lighter morning, because that's just how I like to do things. And so, but I also will say, you also have a lot of people in the group, not only just like group dynamics and people, but like, even if you absolutely enjoy the person, there's not a lot of, what do you call it? Like how Kim says, like she has her morning where she has her coffee, but a lot of times when we're having breakfast between 7 and 9, everybody in the group is down there at breakfast. And then there's some people that just want to sit alone and drink their coffee, but the majority are like, hey, good morning. Like, what's up? Like, we're in Bali. Woo! And you're just like,
shut the F up.
Can I have a moment, please?
Yeah.
But you have to kind of let a lot of that go and be able to shed that in a way, but just know to get your recharge moments when you can, right? You got to work that in, and it has to be intentional.
100%. Which goes into the last con, which is obviously you get less alone time, right? And this is actually interesting because it goes both ways. So, you know, we always, after a group trip, we always get feedback. We ask people questions and we're like, you know what, you know, we've always gone back and forth of like, always having things planned versus giving more free time. And it's always like, some people are like, I want no free time. I just want to always have things planned to be with the group. And then other people are like, I would love a little, like a free day. Right. And so it's funny how it's like always split, you know? And so we started incorporating, like, our Bali trip is 15 days. It's a very long trip, or 14 days. And we have 2 free days. So we have 1 free day in Ubud and 1 free day in Gili Islands, because the rest of the trip is very like group oriented and go, go, go. And so you have these 2 built-in days that you can have your alone time, or you could just go have coffee with your roommate and you don't have to go with the whole group. Right. And so I think that's also really important, is like, and also we always say on our groups too, again, if you're feeling tired or burnt out and you don't want to go to the group dinner, or you don't, and honestly, most people do not skip anything.
No.
They want to be a part of everything, but that's always an option of just like, I just need a little bit of alone time, you know? But it is definitely, some people just love the group dynamic, like go, go, go. I never want to be alone. I always want to be with the people. And then there's other people that like, I need a little bit of a beat. And so when you're with a group, you do have to find that dynamic for yourself and what that looks like.
Yeah, and that's something that we've also learned too, because a lot of the stuff, again, every one of our trips is pretty much all inclusive. It's one pay package. We take care of everything. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. And we've noticed, for the most part, but we've noticed that when dinners are on your own, like that's when people are like, dude, I'm just going to stay in my room and order room service. But then there's like 5 people that are like, let's all go check out this place. So it's really split, which is kind of good. That's also another pro con in a group dynamic. Like if you're a person that wants to go, 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 well, you're always going to have somebody that wants to go, go, go. If you're somebody that wants alone time, there's probably going to be 3 or 4 people that feel the same way.
Yeah.
Right. So you're never really alone.
Yeah. 100%.
In your decisions, right? You're not the one outlier that's like, screw the group. Like, you know?
Yeah.
There's probably somebody that feels the same way.
Well, and it's funny because like I need my time to recharge, but if like people are out doing things, then I'll get FOMO.
We've worked on that.
Because I want to be a part of things.
I know, but we've worked on that.
I don't want people to have fun without me.
I know. We have to rest up and like.
No, okay. Last story. This was my worst nightmare because so was Bali and our first Bali trip. So we didn't really know what to expect at this point. We knew what to expect, but like whatever. We hadn't done it yet with a group. And we were hiking Mount Batur. And then at the end of the hike, so sunrise hike up Mount Batur, and then we end at a hot springs where it's like beautiful. It's overlooking the mountains. There's food, there's drinks. It's a really cool vibe. Yeah. So we're like, cool, like we'll go and we'll have like a drink and then go to lunch and come back to Ubud. So I was sick. And so I missed the hike to Batur. And so I'm like, okay, that sucks, but like they'll go do the hike and then they'll be back. So I thought they'd be at the hot springs for like an hour, you know, whatever. Because when you and I went, we went alone and we were there for like a couple hours. We left. So I'm like texting. I think I was talking to Alexis and I was like, so are you guys like leaving soon? And she's like, no, but like I knew she like didn't want to like, she's like, dude, Kim's like on my ass. But I had the worst FOMO because that ended up being like, you guys had so much fun. You were there all day, drinking all the espresso martinis, having all the fun. And I'm literally in the hotel in Ubud and I'm so freaking mad because I'm like, I've missed the best day ever. Everyone's having fun. I'm not there. And you were even like, that was like the most fun day ever. And I'm like, rub it in.
That was when the group really connected because
really twist the knife because I wasn't there.
We got up at 3 a.m, hiked to the top of the volcano, came down, and then all hung out at the hot springs. And it was just like this total relaxation moment where like the whole trip had been kind of go, go, go. And it was that one time where like we have no plans and tomorrow's a free day. So like let's just all hang out. And it was so relaxing to be in the hot springs, and there was like nobody there. The bartenders were playing any music we wanted to hear. So it was like a moment that you haven't missed since.
No, I know. And now it's like my favorite day because it's such a connecting day. Because again, we're doing something hard together. Then we're celebrating, we're having drinks. Like it's just such a fun day. But I just remember having the worst FOMO, and then you finally came back and I was like so pissed off at you. I'm like, you motherfucker.
You were so mad.
What an ass. I was being an asshole. But anyways, all right, wrapping this up.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, group travel, there's pros and cons to it. I think it's about finding the right group. And I think it's just like evaluating what kind of traveler are you? And I think, again, if you've been contemplating doing a group trip, you never know until you go, kind of like us. We just gave it a try. We ended up really loving the experience and giving it a try. And then if you do one and you're like, not for me, I'm never going to do it again, then you know. But I just think that there's so many beautiful pros and memories and friendships that I can't even imagine not having from these group trips.
Yeah.
You know?
I might need you to help me narrate this because I feel like I want to say, but like if you go on a group trip and you've never been on one and you realize early on, this is kind of, it's tough. It's hard. Understanding that when you are in a group trip, your dynamic is felt. Like you can feel when somebody's not having the best time. You can feel like when somebody's miserable. You can feel, and especially coming from two people that lead group trips, like I'm very keen on that and noticing that. And then so just understanding that, right? Like find the best time you can. And then when you leave, be like, dude, I'll never do another group trip again, right? Like it wasn't for me, but I'm not going to ruin everybody else's time.
Right.
Because I'm not really feeling this.
Bring good vibes and good energy. Like if you're going to go on a group trip, like bring your best self, like be open, be vulnerable, put yourself out there, have a good mindset, knowing you got to roll with the punches. You got to be flexible. It's all part of it. And just, bring your best self, because even when we're tired or I'm tired or, for me, like, I don't want to walk into breakfast and have to like have a full on conversation. Like that's my worst nightmare. Like I wake up always an hour early when it's just Aaron and I, so I don't have to talk to you. Like I want to have my cup of coffee in a moment. But guess what? I put on my big girl panties. I walk into breakfast. I'm not walking in with a freaking puss on.
Right.
Like, don't talk to me. It's like, no, I'm like, good morning.
I've had that problem.
No, which is so funny because in our normal life, you are not the person in our relationship that you're like, I need to have my coffee before I talk. You literally will wake up and start chatting where I'm like, dude, enough. Like you're being a lot right now. But on group trips for some reason, I'm freaking chatty Cathy in the morning, talking to everybody. You like roll into the dining room like a freaking like grump. Like you don't even look at anyone. And I'm like, bro.
It's something I've had to work on because as a solo traveler, I don't have to talk to anybody in the morning. I don't even have to talk to you. And that's actually like, you're excited about that. But a group trip, like there's a point where I just reach this wall and I'm like, I don't want to have conversations. I just want to sit with myself.
Yeah.
I reached that at work.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to talk all the time. I just kind of want to sit and be in my own thoughts for a second.
No, I'm the same. And I think that's something we've worked on is like you being more kind of digging deeper and being able to pull that out even when you don't want to, and me too. All right. So
final thoughts
is DM us at Kim and Aaron G, KIMANDERRANG, and let us know. Are you more of a group traveler? Are you a solo traveler? Did anything from this episode persuade you in one direction?
Ooh, yeah.
Let us know, please. We love to hear your feedback from these podcasts. And then also, again, share this with a friend. Somebody, maybe a travel buddy you want to take on a trip with you. Like, share this with a friend. And, let us know.
You want to draw a card?
Yep, let's draw a card. I got to pee. Pee break. Brutal. Okay, much better. Okay. All right, so now, no, okay. Jeez, girl is out.
Okay, I can just go with this one. I was gonna do the touristy spots versus hidden gems.
Okay, that works for this app.
I know.
Let's do it.
Okay, and now we can close out with our Travsess deck, which we've created that we take on our Travsess trips, but now it's an official deck, which is really cool because it used to be a bunch of pieces of paper ripped up that I put into an envelope that I swear I've had the same envelope for 2.5 years.
You have.
And it goes into my hat, and then we pass the hat around. But now we're like, you know what, let's make this official. And it's just come from a lot of our trips and a lot of the times we sit around and chat and all kind of ask each other questions. And one of our friends that comes on our trips, they made a Travsess version of their game. And so now it's official. So we are going to draw from our deck and see what happens. I'll ask the question and see. These questions are a mix of lifestyle, relationships. There's even some after dark Travsext questions in there. And there's a lot of travel questions. So let's see what we get on this episode. Hopefully it's a travel. Here we go. Travel. Come on. Oh my gosh. I have to put this one back.
Just let's go. Read it. What is it?
The one I drew said, what do you prefer, group travel or solo travel? And why?
Okay. No.
Crazy. Okay. Done. Here's next one. Ooh.
So good.
What's your opinion on touristy spots versus hidden gems? Ooh.
Okay, so we're each going to answer?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think there's a place for both. I think some touristy spots are touristy for a reason. Like especially when it's your first time going somewhere. Like for instance, like the first time we went to Rome, I want to go to the Colosseum. I want to go to the Vatican. I want to go to, what else is touristy? The Sistine Chapel. Like there are things that are touristy for a reason that you want to go see, even though you know there's going to be hordes of people. It's going to be crazy, but there's things like you want to see. But
I want to see the Eiffel Tower light up at night.
right, exactly. Like there's things like they're touristy for a reason, right? But I like to contrast that with hidden gems, right? Like with things that maybe you didn't, like you're not going to find on the Googles, like you found from like a local person. For me, especially when it comes to like food and stuff, like food, I'm not going to eat at the touristy places. I'm not going to eat at like the places that are next to the Eiffel Tower. Like I'm going to try to go as far away from that as I possibly can and find these like off the beaten path hidden gems. And even like our experience in Thailand, that like we went to Bangkok and we saw like a lot of, like we went to the Sky Bar where they shot Hangover. Right? Super touristy. That was so freaking cool to see. Like that was beautiful and amazing. And we paid $30 for a martini, but it was such a cool experience. But then like the contrast to that is then we went hiking in the jungle on the Myanmar border and there was not one other tourist in sight.
We also found the Smoking Pug.
Yes.
Off the beaten path.
Oh.
Thailand.
Yes.
She was from Thailand, but she also lived in New York and he lived in Chicago. They were chefs and they created the Smoking Pug and they had pugs. And it's a really cool restaurant in Bangkok.
It's amazing. So the answer is I like both.
I would agree with you. I think the touristy spots, there's a line to it. It's not that I don't want to see it, but when it comes down to like Kaling King Beach in Bali, very touristy spot. When it starts to be overrun with buses and people pushing and yelling and screaming and just trying to get a picture and not really experiencing it, it's, to my point, not even worth seeing.
Yeah.
right? Like
it ruins it.
it.
Yeah.
So what do I need to do to get to this spot early to beat these crowds? How do I figure that out? Because it's not that I don't want to see it, but this ruins the touristy spot. Just like they say at the gates of heaven in Bali, right? Like everybody gets these beautiful Instagram pictures, but when you know the ins and outs of it, that there's just buses lined up and people like in a line and you're waiting for hours to get one picture, you've wasted your whole day to get that one picture.
Yeah.
So touristy spots are beautiful for a reason, and they are popular for a reason. But the hidden gems, I will say, I absolutely love to experience. But then I've also realized that a lot of times there's not a lot of infrastructure, or like you go there and you experience it, but then you're just like, okay, like what do I do now? Right. And so I love finding the hidden gems, and like the hidden gems to me are a lot of times finding cool places that not a lot of people know about. It's not overrun or people can't get to, but yet it is still pretty well known. But it's also about getting there early, right? Like experiencing these cool places that become hidden gems because you get there before the crowds do.
Yeah. Even like a last thing I'll say is some touristy places are worth it because you got to see the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
For whatever the reason is. But then there's other places that you're just like, no, it's not worth it. And as an example, when we went to New Zealand, okay, because we just planned our Travsess New Zealand trip that we based off of our own itinerary. And Milford Sound is like a hot bucket list spot, right? That people want to go to see. And we went ourselves and it felt so like commercial, and like we were on this bus and then we were on this boat and then you're just like on this boat looking like, I don't know. It just felt.
They shuffled us in like cattle.
Yeah.
And then it was like, you couldn't really get a picture on the boat because everybody was up on the top deck. And then it was like, everybody just crammed in and like fighting for like a picture. It was just like, dude, no.
And
like,
so it was beautiful to see, but it just felt very like, and it's far. So I'm like, this isn't really worth it. So then when we're planning the Travsess trip, you know, the Southern Island is huge. Like there's no way we could do everything or we'd be there for a month. So we were like, okay, like Abel Tasman and Milford Sound, we had to choose between those two because they were the most like far away in the most opposite direction. And because we had done both, we were like, Milford Sound is not worth it. If people want to go on their own, they could go see it, but we don't feel like it's worth it. It's too crowded. It's too overrun. Where Abel Tasman was like, we were like hiking by ourselves. Like you feel like you're in the Caribbean. Like it is such a beautiful part of New Zealand that a lot of people don't go to. And so because we had done the touristy thing, we realized that wasn't worth it to put in our trip. And so we're going to do Abel Tasman instead. Right. And so
Totally.
Some touristy things aren't worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I think, again, we went, you never know until you go. So we went, realized it wasn't worth it.
Which is why all of our trips are planned around places that we've been and experienced.
Yeah, 100%. So,
Yep.
all right.
Close it out.
Well, I think that's it. That being said, we still have a couple spots left for Oaxaca.
Mm-hmm.
If you're interested, you head over to our website, imtravsess.com. Check it out. And
Yeah,
we'll see you next
Thursday.
week. Thursday.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and we hope that you really, really enjoyed it.
And if you did love this episode, can you please do us a huge favor and just share this with one of your friends? Like just somebody that you think will get value from this episode. It would mean so much to us.
Yeah, like do it now. Like while you're inspired, go now.
Like right
Do
this
it.
second.
Yeah,
go,
do
go,
it.
go, go, go. Or just like share it on your Instagram story and tag us at Kim and Aaron G so that we can see it and thank you personally for helping us share this message, share this episode, and blow this baby up.
Yeah, help spread the obsession.
Ooh.
You can do that.
Let's get obsessed.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much. We are so grateful to be on this journey with you, and we will see you next week.
Bye.